Oh, I'm so excited for you guys to start this project. This is the personal collage poster project where you're going to be assembling a series of images that you choose into a single poster. But let me tell you a little story about how I came up with this particular assignment and why I'm really excited and I like this one. So, the inspiration that I had from this was in high school. My girlfriend's father grew up in the same town in Mexico as this artist named Octavio Ocampo. He was a surrealist painter that would do these incredible pictures where it was optical illusions, photos with, I mean, images within an image. So I was really, really interested in that. And he had them all over his house. So anytime I'd visit, I'd check out the stuff on the walls because I just found it so interesting. He did this series of posters and paintings. And this actually seems to not only inspire me, but inspires current day artists as well, like Young Thug's new album. I mean, look at that thing. That is a direct play on this album right here. It's like identical almost. It's so crazy that when I ran across this one last year, I was blown away that he had been inspired, or the artist that did the cover art had been inspired by Octavio Ocampo. So that kind of kicked me into looking up surrealism. I loved art in high school and in college, and Salvador Dali's stuff always just seemed so weird and off kilter. And he was part of the surrealist movement. And all these other surrealist artists started getting me into seeing things that were more from like the 50s, using photographs and stuff to create this weird pop art kind of feel, like things like this. I just love this kind of stuff. There's just something, I don't know, it just feels artsy and kind of subversive. I see this interesting weirdness that's going on. It kind of pulls you in and makes you want to look at what the heck else is going on in this image. Like there, I mean, that's crazy. I love these things. And so my desire to kind of do something with Photoshop kind of came out of these inspirations that I had. But I also realized that there is a lot of modern applications for this. So I wanted to show you some from music, sports, as well as just some retro modern collages that are done. So definitely on a lot of mixtapes, there's a lot of work that's done to create collages and things on mixtapes to represent who you are, where you're from, and what you're into. Also on music album covers. I mean, when you look at this, these are surrealistic style collages going back to the old magazine cutout style of collages that are being used for album covers. Even more like digital, almost like CG style collages, like on Lil Nas X's album cover. And then also, I love basketball. So looking at the artwork and collaging that people will do for certain posters, Nike has a really cool campaign with doing the outline of the city, or sorry, the outline of the state that the team's from. Same kind of thing here for like LeBron when he was on the Cavs. And then you can kind of see some more modern updates to it. So it's a modern take, but utilizing these kind of old school techniques. Beautiful stuff. Really, really inspiring. And I really like this look. I would love to do some kind of these retro ones, but I'm going to leave it up to you to decide which certain style you want to use for this. So I want to show you some student work. Now, the collage images that you're going to see in a minute were made from students in during last year's class. What I did is I gave them a list of, give me a picture that represents where you were born. Give me a picture of you. Give me a picture of some of your goals. Give me a picture of one of your favorite sports or hobbies. So each one of these photos represents something about that particular person. So you're going to get to choose the images, and I'll show you the list in a second. But here's some student work. So with this, she was definitely going for an old school kind of collaged effect. Same thing there with a little bit more surrealism, some more surrealistic kind of things just to experiment with the different items. So, one of the key things that we're going to be looking for in doing this is gathering the images, definitely, but then also figuring out how can you put it together in an interesting way? How can you get the lighting to look right? How do you make sure your selections are good? And those images, like there's a good one for like mixtape kind of thing with the city, or sorry, the state being the outline. Same kind of things here. So it's going to be your chance to not only be able to get more practice in masking, but then also get a little creative with how you want to structure and lay this particular poster out. So these are all great examples that represent something about each of those students. So these are the categories you're going to be working with. You're going to include a picture of you, something that represents where you were born. And we want to go beyond just the most literal representation of things. So you've got a really broad interpretation of these things. So, a place that you'd want to visit, two of your life goals, two sports or hobbies that you enjoy, two of your personal values, two things on your bucket list, and two random items. So, think about some of the stuff you did on your About Me poster. But now we're going to look for a more artistic way to be able to assemble that in one large poster. So this process is going to be broken down into three main parts. The first one is finding inspiration, and that's going to be looking on Pinterest and looking for pinning other website images to Pinterest to be able to see what kind of collages are out there that you like. Then we'll go through a planning phase where you're going to plan out what is it that you're going to do, and then we'll have a building phase where you're going to actually start to mask everything out, put them all into one artboard, and then start to create or start to do all of the image adjustments to make it blend together. So for the Pinterest board, you're going to be creating a new board on Pinterest, call it Collage, and you're going to find at least 10 to 15 collages that you like, and they shouldn't be ones that you saw in this demo. So find unique ones for things that interest you. Then we're going to go through and do a planning sheet, and I have a Google Doc that you'll fill out, and you're going to do a planning sheet, and then you'll search for images, and then you'll start to actually build it. So with this Google Doc, I'll end up showing you in another video what you need to do to fill that out and what you're going to do potentially as a screencast. And with the planning questions, you want to make sure that you dig deeper, that you really want to know if you, like, for example, two of your major life goals, you're going to write about why are these important to you? What is it about these? What does it say about you? Now, you're going to share this information with me, but you won't be sharing it with anybody else in the class. So you can feel free to be a bit more open. My students last year online found this really, I was just kind of aside myself at how much they opened up and were really willing to share, and it really made me feel so much more connected and understanding of who they were. So again, this is information that you'll share with me, but I will not share this with other people. And then you're going to look to try to go beyond just the most obvious things for the images. So it's like, I like football, so here's a football. It's like, no, let's dig deeper. Let's get a little more something that's a little bit more personal. So it doesn't matter if somebody else doesn't fully realize what that image means, as long as you do and as long as I do. So as far as the searching, you're going to create a new folder called PS Collage, and you're going to want to make sure that you save all the images you want to use into that folder. Now, to find images that are high quality, or you'll hear me refer to it as high res, it just means high resolution, meaning it has a lot more pixels in them. I recommend using these sites, and I have links on the homepage for you to be able to find pictures from these sites. They are big images, and they're images that we can freely use. Now, there may be some limitations on those, though. If you're looking for like a specific video game, or if you're looking for a specific athlete for some reason, you may not be able to find them on these sites. But I want to see if we can find stuff from these sites first, and then we can branch out a little further if you can't find the images that you need. We just want to make sure that they're high quality, because if you get a small image and you blow it up and it gets pixelated, it's just going to make your whole collage look kind of lame. And I don't want that. And then we'll start doing the building. With the building, you're going to primarily work first with just masking your images, making sure that the edges of your images look really clean and good, making sure that you clone stamp anything new in if there's portions of the image missing, making sure that if you're doing something around hair or fur, that it has a nice, clean, refined edge. So you're going to go back here. We're going to work primarily first with these 13 items. So it's a picture of you, where you were born, somewhere you want to visit, your favorite sport, your favorite hobby, one of your life goals, another one of your life goals, two things that you value, two things that you want to do in your lifetime, and then two random items. This is your chance to kind of go wild and pick some things that you really want to add into your image that you may be inspired by. So as far as the prior knowledge that you need to know how to use Photoshop. So we've done that. The Photoshop workspace, like where are the tools? Where are the layers? How do you change the brush sizes? How do you make a layer mask? How do you adjust a layer mask? How do you make a selection? How do you adjust colors? Or how do you adjust curves and levels in a certain layer? How do you do a clipping mask? How do you sharpen an image? And then finally, at the very end, how do you apply a camera raw filter to be able to make all the colors feel cohesive together in the final collage? Now, as far as the grading, it's broken up into two parts. There's the either you did it or you didn't portion of the grade. And there's the more, that's the objective grade. So did you make it the right size? It's an 8x10 document. I don't know why the thing keeps moving. And I may end up beefing this one up. I haven't decided, since I've been having issues with the Mac. They keep crashing on some of the larger images. I would like it to be bigger, but I also don't want these to crash. So for now, let's go ahead and stick with 100 pixels per inch, 8 inches by 10 inches. Make sure they're inches, not pixels. Pixels is going to be super tiny. You're going to want to make sure that your image, your layer names are correct, and I'll go over that later before we do the final check. And you want to make sure you have the right number of images. So that's either you have it or you don't. As far as the subjective, this is the more kind of technical and artsy side of it. I'm going to be looking to make sure that your selections are as clean as possible. So they don't look chunky, that there's not pieces missing, that the hair doesn't look like a plastic helmet. I want to make sure that the images are high quality and they're not pixelated. So they're not kind of blurry and not looking high quality. And I want to feel the natural effect, like it feels like everything, it flows well together, even though it's going to be kind of surreal and not necessarily realistic. It shouldn't look like you just have a series of stickers slapped on the canvas. And then just the overall technical quality and the overall impression of it. So again, with this, I want to make sure, I cannot emphasize this enough, do not erase things. Also, do not use PNG files that already have the backgrounds taken out. The whole purpose of this portion of the project, this portion in particular, is so that you get a better chance to have practice making selections and being able to mask things. On top of that, it makes it so it's non-destructive. So you can actually go back and add and correct things, and I can help you with that if there's something that just doesn't look right. If you're going to download files that already have the backgrounds removed, that's the lazy way out, and I don't want to have that. So make sure that your images do not have transparent backgrounds. All right, and then if you have questions, definitely send me questions in class. I'll be always available to answer questions.